The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily that of WTRW, 94.3 The Talker, or the Bold Gold Media Group.
The following presentation is brought to you by the host of the program, who is solely responsible for its content.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Make a Change. I'm your host, Terry Martin, along with my producer, Tom Jenkins.
Good afternoon, Terry. How are you?
Very good, Tom. Today, I have a lot of Terry questions.
Terry questions?
Yeah, Terry questions. I question so many things in life, like, can taking care of your skin possibly save your life? Sound pretty far-fetched, maybe, but...
I need to hear the answer to that question.
Well, then you'll have to listen to the show, everyone. And Tom, as we keep going through it, you'll hear what I have come up with.
Okay.
Well, many things that I will discuss today, they're just common sense. But sometimes we need little reminders, and we need to think back to what worked when we really felt good, when we felt young and alive. And I'm not saying that a lot of people don't, but the older we get, sometimes I think that's the way we start to feel.
And sometimes common sense for you is not the same common sense for me, and vice versa. You know, what is something very simple for one person could not be that simple for another.
And maybe some of the things that we did when we were younger really worked.
But we forgot.
Now we changed. Yes, you're right. We forgot.
Yep.
And now maybe we can start going back to them again. And these days, I do an awful lot of studying and learning about the aging process rather than just skin problems. And it came to my mind how we all judge people's ages. And so I say, Tom, when you look at people, how do you judge how old someone is?
Well, if it's a guy and I want to know, I'll ask him. Because
don't ask a woman.
And that's why I said if it's a guy, I'll ask him. If it's a woman, usually I don't. Or I'll, if we get into the guessing game, I always, whatever I think, I knock 10 years off.
Right.
For two reasons. One, I don't want to insult them.
Or get slapped.
And that's the other reason. Yeah. And I don't want to get hit. But for me, when it comes to judging somebody's age, it's hard for me. I'm one of those guys that as I got older, God played a very cruel joke on me. He didn't allow me to hit puberty till I was 16 years old. So up until I was 16, I looked like I was 10. I used to get pulled over by the police when I was driving because they thought I stole a car because I looked that young. And then the cruel joke was that at 22, I started losing my hair. So I only had that very small window, But, I'm one of those people that have always looked so much younger than I really am. So I've always had a difficult time trying to judge on ages.
Well, I judge mainly by looking at the face first. Of course, that's my business. And then I scan the body, because I'm just inquisitive. And I think most people are also people that are judging, and it's not judging them by...
In a negative way.
Yes. It's just trying to see, actually, where do we measure up?
Right. When we hear that
age?
term judge, we immediately think, oh, don't you judge me. Well, no, it's not. I'm not judging you negatively. Everybody judges everybody. It's just human nature. It's the direction we take that judgment. Do we make decisions based on our opinions, or do we make decisions based on the facts?
Well, I just love to sit and watch people's different styles, but then I like to determine if they're a grandmother, if they're childbearing age, if they're teenagers. But that's just all a part of being human and how we read each other on a daily basis. Because, as I said earlier, we're always comparing to how we're measuring up in life, how we're withstanding that age process. And there was a study done in 2008 from King's College in London, and it was published in the Archives Internal Medicine, but it was based on an observation of 2,401 pairs of identical twins. They found that a sedentary lifestyle plays a major role in the aging process, and that those who vigorously exercised only 3 hours a week, biologically, were 9 years younger than those who exercised fewer than 15 minutes weekly.
So the ones that got up and moved and did things,
we have to.
Okay.
And they discovered that by working out more, it caused them to have longer telomeres.
Longer what?
Yeah, well, I'll go on to explain. These telomeres are found at the end of the chromosome. They protect the DNA, and that enables our cells to replicate. Now, that might seem like a lot of, hogwash, but what it means is it appears when the telomeres shorten, eventually they become so small that replication is impossible, causing cellular death. In other words, you die.
So it's when our bodies stop
right
remaking the cells.
So I thought, all
basis.
right, just understanding this told me to stop being such a baby and go on the heavier weights that I was supposed to be using by now with this exercise program I started. You know how it is, Tom. You start off with the light weights and then you graduate up. Well, now I'm in the 6th week of this program, and I never added the extra weights like I was supposed to.
You do what I do with exercising. You use your children.
Oh.
Okay, I use my son, and I'll bench press my son. First of all, he loves going up and down when I'm holding on to him. And as he gets older, he's getting heavier, so I have to push. But now, of course, I go to the baby, and I say, all right, come here, sweetheart. I bench press her. I'm like, oh, my gosh, you are so much easier.
Well, you're right. And anything that you do to get moving, but when I try to do these exercise programs, I'm only cheating myself if I don't really give it everything that I have.
Absolutely.
And after discovering about what really happens to your body, I just have to get tough on myself now. And I have to make sure that I don't really slack off, because look what can happen later. And once again, that common sense. Who do I think I'm fooling? Once you're exercising, you hardly notice the difference in another pound or two of lifting more weights. And what I mean by more weights isn't, I don't mean weight in your body. I just mean weights from the heavier barbells.
Adding weight to the lifting, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the getting there to exercise in the first place for me that's really the hardest part.
Getting motivated to actually do it.
Yes.
Once you start doing it, you're okay. Okay.
That's questionable. But I do, as I say, I just have to give myself a self-talk quite often. Mm-hmm. And it goes something like this. Don't want to exercise now? Don't worry, Terry. You'll just dry up and blow away. You won't have to worry about it. Your body will take care of itself and do exactly what you program it to do. So those telomeres, that just really hit me pretty good to maybe put it in a scientific way, but because common sense, I know all the time, oh yes, you're supposed to exercise. But it's pay now or pay later, and there's just no getting around it.
And that's exactly the thought process that I have when it comes to what I eat. Mm-hmm. Because I try to eat as organically as possible, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken.
Yeah, I saw those pictures of your garden, and I am so jealous. I'd love that garden.
And I think about it now. It's like, yeah, okay, organic food is a little more expensive now, but it's a little more expensive now instead of a lot more expensive when I'm laying in a hospital bed.
Right.
So pay now or pay later. Mm-hmm. I think I'll pay now, because then it's also not as painful.
Well, when I look at your garden, although I want it, I don't want the work that goes along with it. Mm-hmm. But speaking of that, I was thinking about our ancestors. They didn't have to make these silly decisions. And by that, I mean, they didn't have to decide to exercise or join a gym.
Why?
Because the decisions that I talk about that are silly is that almost every woman had household chore activities. And we now no longer have those kind of chores. We don't work like that because years ago, the women hung the clothes out to dry. They
I remember
washed
my mom
the dishes.
doing that. It was actually funny you said hung the clothes out to dry. When I was on my way to work the other day,
and they smell so good.
I was going up a back road, and I looked over into one of the farmlands, and I saw it had to be 100 feet of clothesline full of clothes just blowing slightly in the breeze. I'm like, I remember my mom doing that when I was a little kid, and I used to be the clothespin guy. I would hold the clothespins for her, and I'd hand her clothespins as she put them up on the line. So yeah, we don't do that anymore.
No. Well, I do a little bit whenever I get the chance, because you just love the way your sheets smell and your, your T-shirts, your pajamas. It's just beautiful. But, then the women, they wash the dishes by hand. They swept the floors, and usually they scrub the floors on their hands and knees. And was this fun? No, it wasn't fun. But it was what they needed to do, and that's how they got their exercise. Mm-hmm. And my question is, are the same boring exercises we have to do now fun? Because we don't have to do all that, the work that they did, that the women did. To me, 10 reps of this and 10 reps of that, and then you do the same boring exercise over and over 7 days a week. I mean, I'm doing it, but can I say I like it? No, I don't. Maybe I should go back to scrubbing the floors. But anyway, on my hands and knees.
Well, I just had an idea and come over and do the floors in my house.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe. What can I say? But the results of working out, I do like it. And it does make it worth doing it.
But like every human being, we want an easier, softer way. There isn't one. There is no easier, softer way. We have to get off our butts and make it happen for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like you. I want an easier, softer way. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to get up and work out. I just, can you get rid of this? Can you make me healthy?
Yeah, but it doesn't happen.
No.
And getting back to why we have to choose our exercise now in this generation is because we now have dishwashers, washing machines, and dryers, and every appliance imaginable to do our work. And I remember my grandmother having to start the old coal, stove up in the kitchen just to make hot chocolate and our breakfast. Mm-hmm. But I love those memories. It's not the same as just microwave, dump the hot chocolate in the packet, you know. Mm-hmm. In other words, I'm just trying to say there are not too many fun memories just listening to the person on the video on the television telling me every step of the way and how to exercise. I mean, take your pick. How do you choose to get your exercise? The body has to move. It just so happens this is the way we have evolved. Somehow, we cannot be couch potatoes because look what's happening to our society. So many people are overweight and sick.
Well, the point is we are couch potatoes.
Yes.
That's why so many of us are overweight. That's why that's a big epidemic in this country.
Right, because all these machines do everything for us now.
Yep.
So there's not even a choice anymore. It's done. And either you decide you're getting up off that couch or not.
And why we're so sick. Because we're not getting off the couch.
Right.
It really disturbed me the other day. I had to go to the drugstore and get, as my children call it, boo-boo strips. They get Band-Aids. They use Band-Aids for everything.
Right.
They don't have a boo-boo, but they still need a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm walking to the back of the drugstore and I'm looking for the different Band-Aids. And of course, I'm looking for Scooby-Doo or something like that for the kids. And I looked over into the pharmacy area and the entire back wall, like 8 foot by 17 foot. I mean, it was huge, loaded with the bags of prescriptions. Thousands of prescriptions.
And we're here because we want to help people. That is why, to stop those prescriptions somewhat.
Oh, yeah. Not all of them.
No,
some people actually, I need blood pressure medication.
Right.
No matter how much I exercise or eat, right? I have hereditary high blood pressure. Just it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's so much that could be avoided. Mm-hmm. So much.
But even for men, years ago, talking about men and their exercise, they pushed those lawnmowers. Remember in the olden days, they had the blades and the two wheels, and they had that long handle that was attached, and you walked behind them and you pushed them. I mean, there's no motor.
There is one of those in my garage, way in the back in the corner, with about 17 inches of dust on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you see them in the antique stores now, but maybe it's time to get them back out. Even my husband, when we went to buy a lawnmower this time, he didn't get the self-propelled. He said, no, I'm going to push.
Good.
And he does it. But I bet you years ago, I mean, they didn't have the huge yards like we have now because they had to push them with those old-fashioned lawnmowers. But, even the men, that when they would saw the wood, they had that old handsaw. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a chainsaw. And so now I'll just even say, and our children, they started off right too. Because first of all, we had chores. I don't even hear that word anymore. I don't know if anyone else hears it in their circles, but it's not in mine, where the children have to do hardly anything.
I'm in the process of teaching my 3-year-old what a chore is now.
Good.
Yeah. It's like, come on, buddy, we got to do this. We got some chores to do. Daddy has to go water the garden. And while I'm watering the garden, I want you
you're a
to
good
do.
Daddy.
Well, I try. I try.
But I've hired many young girls for babysitters and house cleaning throughout the years with my 5 children that I had. And some of them confessed they never swept a floor once. And most household chores, they didn't even know how to do at all. And why? Because someday these women, they're going to be someone's wife, or if not, they still have to take care of themselves eventually. And I've actually seen many homes that they're a result of this generation. It's an awful sight, and it's sad, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
So let's take a quick break. You're listening to Make a Change with your host, Terry Martin. I'm Tom Jenkins on 94.3 FM The Talker. Of course, if you have any questions for Terry, give her a shout, 866-646-3374. And don't forget to check out our webpage, MederiClinicals.com. We'll be right back. Mederi Clinicals, a unique skincare company, has a complete skincare line for men and women. From anti-aging to glycolic and even a clinical line for sensitive skin, Mederi Clinicals is for you. Their number one product? Forgiveness. It's the secret to younger looking and younger acting skin. You can experience the transformation with fewer wrinkles, firmer skin, and a more youthful, radiant complexion. Treat aging, sun damage, rosacea, and more with Forgiveness. Plus, buy one bottle of Forgiveness, get one lip enhancing complex for free. Forgiveness. Apply it morning and night and keep forgiving and forgetting all through the day. Make a change with Mederi Clinicals. Balance, restore, look, and feel new. Mederi Clinicals, a complete skincare company for men and women. Call 866-646-3374 or check out MederiClinicals.com. MEDERI Clinicals.com.
Welcome back to Make a Change on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Terry Martin, your host, and Tom Jenkins, my producer. Before the break, we were discussing chores. And
or lack thereof.
Exactly. And how I can't say that it's really all the parents' fault for maybe not giving their children the chores. Our life, in many ways, has become so easy with the machines. It's not like you have to learn how to even really bake a cake if you were going to do that, because now it's just a cake mix. It's not everything from scratch. Everything isn't as hard as it was. But I'm thinking that maybe that's why so many grandparents are ending back up with their children's children and having to raise them now because they don't know how. It's just not being passed on. And statistics are showing that that is the truth.
And what I'm seeing just in my experience, I mean, I've got nothing else to base this on. I don't have any studies or anything, but just from what I've seen over the years is the way society is and, paychecks, mm-hmm. you don't get paid the same amount of money that you used to. So both parents need to work mm-hmm. to be able to pay for everything else. So the paychecks are going down, but everything else is going up. Mm-hmm. So both parents have to work mm-hmm. in order to get all of those wonderful things to make your life easier.
Right. We feel we need those conveniences.
Right.
And so you're right. It's just a never-ending circle.
Yeah.
But, back to the children, years ago also, we went out and played. And we just played every game you could think of, including just simple tag. But we could not do any of that before those chores were done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to play kick the can. That was a big game in our neighborhood. But if we wanted to go out during the week, after school, immediately, as soon as you get home from school, do your homework. Get your homework done, whatever your chores were in the house that you had to do, eat supper together as a family, which I still try to instill with my family today, and then you can go out and play. And you had to be in when the streetlights came on.
And now kids, I see this, that they have every trinket on the market, and they're still sitting there or saying, I'm bored. Well, go outside.
My son said that again. He's going to be 4. Actually, he just turned 4 last week. And just a couple of weeks ago, he sit on the couch and nothing good was on TV, according to him. Daddy, I'm bored. I said, that's because you're boring. I said, get off your butt and go do something. What can I do? Something. Then I turned the TV off. Well, Dad, I said, go find something to do. Mm-hmm. Just go do something. I said, I'll tell you what, bud, if you think of something to do, if you think of a good game that we can do, I'll play with you. How's that? But you have to think of the game.
I laugh with my 5 children. If they would ever come to me and say they were bored, I'd say, oh, good. The dishes need doing.
That's a mom move.
They learned.
Yep, that's
stop.
a mom move.
Now children, I even want to say, they're chauffeured everywhere. Mm-hmm. We used to walk. We used to do, and now maybe, I'll go on to some of the things that I had in my mind that I have seen where many people even have long driveways for the children to catch the school bus at. But they're not so long that they can't walk. But I see parents in the morning driving them down, picking them up afterwards. Now, what I'm trying to say here is if it isn't safe and they're young, then I can see that. But what I'm seeing is these children are being driven until they're in 12th grade, up and down the hill. I mean, this is what I'm seeing right now. And then when are parents going to trust them enough to be able to walk? And especially when you can see to the end of the road when the bus does come. But the children, what I'm seeing, are so spoiled. And then all of a sudden, they're in 12th grade and you didn't let them do any of these kind of things. And now they're expected to go out and live in this world. They don't even know how to do that. I mean, they're not used to having that kind of responsibility even.
The big argument that I always get on that end is I trust my children. It's the rest of the world I don't trust, and I don't want anything bad to happen to my children.
But by the time they get in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, you better let them have a little bit of responsibility at least to do that. But the poor parents, I see them at 2 o'clock, 2:30, just running down to the end of the hill. I
remember when I was 7 years old in second grade, I walked to school and it was 6 blocks. I remember doing that because there was always this one sidewalk. I had memorized every crack in the sidewalk all the way to school, and I used to play with the sidewalk. I had played a little game with myself on the way to school. I remember that, and walking home too.
Yeah, I remember it also because my father wouldn't take us even if it was a blizzard. You just went, and no matter what, you had to walk anyway. And it made us tough. But now we stand and we laugh at how freezing it was, and you're jumping and you're hopping around till the bus comes.
I remember walking to school when I was in high school. I graduated to the defunct Scranton Central. I graduated from Scranton Central. I lived in Southside. I remember walking to and from downtown Scranton from the one part of Southside. Rain, sleet, snow, or hail. I had an umbrella or boots or whatever, and I walked. I remember that until, of course, I turned 16 and got the car that I paid for myself, that I worked to get. That was my mom always said, you want a car, you got to buy it yourself.
Why, did you have a newspaper route, or did you do anything like that?
I started working when I was 13 years old under the table. I'm not going to tell you what restaurant it was because I don't want to get them in trouble because they're still open today.
Oh.
But I was a pearl diver. Dishwasher in the kitchen, and 13 years old, just washing dishes 2 or 3 nights a week and putting them away at the restaurant. And they gave me $2 an hour cash and free food to eat, and I would always save my money. And then from there, when I turned 15, I worked for the now closed Schumacher's Meat Market that used to be on Prospect Avenue in Scranton, and I worked there till I was about 17. And but every time I worked, I'd always put a little bit of money away, always. And I was able enough to put a down payment on a vehicle. Yeah.
That's excellent.
That's what my parents taught me.
Well, talk about being an overprotective parent. I remember my one son wanted to have that newspaper route, and I thought, oh, this is a good idea. And when it got to be 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and it was dark out there, I wouldn't let him go. I had to put him in my car, and then we would go deliver the newspapers together. Now, this isn't something where they would just put them in their bike like you see on the television shows.
Right.
But because you're afraid, like you say, you're just definitely afraid. There's certain things you do have to have, common sense on. But, of course, not that our parents didn't have common sense, but even when we were talking about the bus and getting on the bus and catching that, it used to be you would be in terrible trouble if the bus passed by and you didn't get to the bottom of the hill or the driveway. And it's not like they would put you in the car and take you. You missed the day, and it wasn't a day that you wanted to miss.
That's right.
Guaranteed.
The excuse, I missed the bus, only flew once or twice. That was it.
Right.
Yep.
And then even when mine were growing, I have to say, talk about spoiling your children. If they forgot a book or a notebook, all they would do, get on the phone and call you. And here you're trying to leave your job, you're running to get it to them because you want everything to be good for them. And it's that we are good parents, but maybe we could have been a little harder. Maybe we can be now, because I even remember my children, or my father and my mother, or whenever we would go to our relatives and play, they'd say, okay, out of the house, remember, go blow the stink off you, or get outside and play. And then when we get outside, they'd lock the door. You're not coming in. I don't know if yours were like that, but it was use your imaginations and play. And we did.
Yeah.
And, looking back, running around outside was some of the most fun time in my life. I just remember silly things, like there was a banister. We lived in this little town, and there was you remember they were like poles, and they were banisters on the sidewalk. They were just round poles.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be hours just swinging around upside down on that, and your face gets just beet red, and it just felt so good to get your body moving.
When we were kids, at this one campground we used to go to all the time, there was a handful of us kids that would go out into the woods. You know, here we are in the woods. Now, you don't have to worry about any weirdos in the woods, you know, but you have to worry about bears and skunks and porcupines and all that stuff. But no, go have fun. And I'll never forget it. We decided we were going to build a fort. You know, boys build forts in the woods.
Yeah.
So we went out, we found this little area, and we got all this dead wood. Never cut down a tree. Always got the dead wood. And we're trying to figure a way out to put this wood together to make a fort. Hammer and nails. We need hammer and nails. Well, we don't have any hammer and nails. Well, let's go over to Angie's trailer. Maybe she's got some hammer and nails. So we go over to Angie's trailer, and she's got a shed behind her trailer. And we go into the shed, and sure enough, she's got hammers. And did we ask Angie if we can borrow? No, we just stole them. We just took them. Well, Angie knew we took them. We're out in the back with her hammer and nails, building a fort, and my father was over talking with Angie, and he said, you know, my kid and the rest of the kids are stealing tools and stuff out of your barn, out of your little shed back there. And she said, yeah, I know. He goes, well, aren't you going to stop them? She said, no. And he said, well, why not? She said, because when I can hear the banging, I know they're safe.
Oh.
So, I know they're doing something productive. They're not demolishing anything. And if I can hear them banging away, I know they're okay.
And you're using those bodies to exercise and staying out of trouble because, you know, talking about our bodies, they do exactly what we tell them to do. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line, we just have to listen to ourselves. And the secret that I find to youth, the one that I've discovered is, of course, moving, but it's simple. You can look and feel as young as you want. But you, just you, have to work at it and for it. And anyone can try to sell you their magic answers. But in your heart, you really know what they are. And this shouldn't sound depressing. It should sound empowering. Because there have been studies done to prove to us that we can live longer and healthier. But again, the choice is ours. Because with a combination of common sense, we can take control of many facets of our lives, including not just looking younger, but feeling younger and better. Mederi can help with the outside choices of what your skin needs are. And we can also help in the selection of combining the products that would be most beneficial for each individual. By the end of the show, I think men and women alike can see the need to care for yourself and give yourself what you deserve. And now you can see my question that I asked in the beginning of the show, the Terry questions. Well, Terry questions, can taking care of your skin possibly save your life? Yeah, I'm not talking about superficially only. I'm talking about internally as well. And maybe by taking a long, hard look in the mirror at yourself, you will see that you're possibly aging well before your time. And this is what I mean. And I think this is very exciting. Can your skin give you the secret to better health and longevity? And yes, I believe it can. Because the good care that you can give your body, you should try to, so you wouldn't have to possibly suffer as much as it has been. Now, I'm not saying everyone's suffering, but if not, if you don't take care of it, you will. It will happen, and the suffering will be there. But it's kind of funny how working in the cosmetic field brought me to that realization, because every time I came across problematic skin, most of the answers, of course, were from within. So many years ago, the only thought I had was applying that lotion or cream to the face would work. And that was just so foolish, because I thought that's all that it would take to just be able to look good. By thinking that that's all you had to do. Well, it isn't the only answer.
Let's get to some more answers right after this quick break.
Okay.
You're listening to Make a Change with your host, Terry Martin. I am Tom Jenkins. And if you have any questions for Terry, you want to know more about skincare, any questions for Terry, give her a shout, 866-646-3374, 866-646-3374, or check out MederiClinicals.com, MEDERI, MederiClinicals.com. More answers when we come back. Mederi Clinicals, a unique skincare company, has a complete skincare line for men and women. From anti-aging to glycolic and even a clinical line for sensitive skin, Mederi Clinicals is for you. Their number one product? Forgiveness. It's the secret to younger looking and younger acting skin. You can experience the transformation with fewer wrinkles, firmer skin, and a more youthful, radiant complexion. Treat aging, sun damage, rosacea, and more with Forgiveness. Plus, buy one bottle of Forgiveness, get one lip enhancing complex for free. Forgiveness. Apply it morning and night and keep forgiving and forgetting all through the day. Make a change with Mederi Clinicals. Balance, restore, look, and feel new. Mederi Clinicals, a complete skincare company for men and women. Call 866-646-3374 or check out MederiClinicals.com, MEDERI Clinicals.com.
Welcome back to Make a Change on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Terry Martin, your host, and Tom Jenkins, my producer.
And we talk about making changes on this show every week, whether it be weight changes, personality changes, spiritual changes, family changes. And Terry posed a really unique question at the beginning of the show. Can taking care of your skin possibly save your life? And you started by you wrapped up the last segment by saying that just slathering on some stuff on your skin to make you look younger you thought that was the answer, but then you find out it's really not the answer. It aids, but it's not the answer on how taking care of your skin can help save your life.
And because I am a licensed medical esthetician and I have seen and studied skin for so long that when I meet people, I think it might intimidate them some, and it shouldn't, but I can't help it. I'm always looking at their skin, and then what I'm doing is, well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm getting excited because I'm going to tell you how you can look at your own skin and what to look for. Because, like I say, what I found out is that, yes, skincare is a large part of what needs to be done and to achieve the overall healthy look of the skin. But it is really a combination of taking care of the total body inside and out that is the key to the fountain of youth that we're all looking for. And if anyone who is listening would like to know the top 10 signs that your skin is getting old, you may want to grab a pencil and jot these down. And I'm not saying you, as in getting old, I'm saying your skin. Because the reason I say this is maybe you are aging prematurely for reasons that are something you can control. And therefore, you can do something to slow that process down and even reverse it. So here's the list. Number 1, if your skin looks dull and lifeless. 2, if you're seeing fine lines and wrinkles. 3, if your pores are getting larger. 4, does skin seem thinner?
I don't understand. How could you tell if skin seems thinner?
I can tell you that when I was working on older women or men, and I would do microdermabrasion, the skin starts getting thin, and if you're not careful doing a service like that, you can draw blood because the skin is getting it's just getting thin.
How could a person see that on their own skin?
I think through just looking at it, because it starts to sag a little bit more.
Okay.
It starts the lines, the wrinkles, and that it's just not firm and tight like it was when we were young.
Okay.
It's losing its elasticity and everything.
Okay.
But number 5 is uneven skin tones. 6, brown spots. They call them sunspots or age spots. And number 7, if you're producing less oil. I mean, when we were younger, we didn't want all that oil, but now we wish we could have it back because it does make you appear younger. 8, dry skin. 9, wounds heal slower. And 10, skin bruises easier and blood vessels are weakening in the form of varicose veins.
It usually starts in the legs, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, but you can actually get little broken blood vessels on your face, too.
But usually I see people who drink an awful lot.
Yeah.
Get what do they call them? Gin blossoms on the nose.
Yes.
Who was that big comedian? I can't remember his name. He had that great big honking nose and it was just always red.
Jimmy Durante?
Yes,
Oh.
with busted blood vessels.
Well, remember those warning signs that I always talk about in all of my other shows? I say our bodies are always telling us when something isn't 100%. And everything I mentioned in the 10 questions about your skin, they're just little cues and they're little clues. And you might say, okay, so what? Now what? Well, here's where I get very excited and I just light up because everything I mention, you can do something about. And it isn't only to just eat right. You can call our company, Mederi Clinicals, or email us, and we can get you started on a program, and you can begin turning those warning lights off. Before you contact us, though, go to the mirror and do an evaluation of that little test that we just talked about. And if you didn't write them down, you can go to our website, MederiClinicals.com, and then click on radio and listen to the show again. Next, you can write down what you want to improve. And what is the most important to you? There's so many things you can do on your own.
Especially with dry skin, because I suffered from that for a long time. And I just found out it's because I was dehydrated. I didn't drink enough water. As soon as I started drinking more water, that dry skin went away.
Right, because there's a reason for every warning.
Right. That was
And they're
it.
not bad warnings even. They're just simple little things.
Something as subtle as, oh my gosh, my skin's cracking because it's so dry. Well, go drink some more water, you knucklehead.
Yeah, right. So like now, what are some measures that need to be taken? When I said I feel that you can possibly save your life from taking care of your skin, I meant it. And why? Because I personally feel, and of course no one has to agree with me in what I'm saying, but I would take it to this step to even say skin cancer mainly comes from within. If your body isn't healthy inside, everything starts to fall apart, including your outward appearance. You just can't see the insides as they're breaking down. And if your body isn't healthy enough, it can't fight the effects of the sun on your skin. I want to explain further what I mean. Because of course, you can lay out in the sun until you look like an old leather shoe. And could skin cancer come from that? Well, it sure wouldn't help anything.
Right.
But inside, if you're healthy enough, you can't fight off everything, but all these advertisements I want to go on because I want to talk about the advertisements that are trying to sell you their SPFs. They're practically scaring people to death to not go out in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are other answers, and there's natural SPFs. But one of the things about going out into the sun...
We need it.
Yes, exactly.
It is the main source, and I'm not a doctor, but at least I know this, main source of vitamin D.
Right.
And if we put on those SPFs, our body's not getting that vitamin D it needs.
Right. And it's blocking the sun from our pituitary. And now, you know what? On top of that, let's add the chemicals that we're baking into our systems. I even have to say, well, so what if you're using a tanning bed? My feeling is absolutely not. Just because I'm saying this doesn't mean I know it all.
Right.
However, I did a study in college on tanning beds, and the conclusion was, this is like sleeping with the devil. The same as too much sun. And I never talked with a doctor that gave his blessings on a tanning bed. And let me add one other fact to this. Many times, the extra reasons that the beds aren't safe is the beds many times are not monitored in the same safe measures that they were intended to be. And meanwhile, the light bulbs, this is one of the reasons, the light bulbs many times when they burn out, the incorrect ones are then used by unprofessional people fixing them, especially when the beds are purchased used, like when people sell out or they go out of business. Then many times you can't even find the original manufacturer of that tanning bed anymore. And I have seen this because I'm in the beauty world, and I've seen this in one shop for sure myself. A person confessed to me they were using the wrong lights. And I dare to say that it happens often. So, many people that do tan too much, either by the sun or a tanning bed, really, I think they look sick and, sickly and fake. And it won't take very long before they do end up looking like that shoe leather. And that's not the look that they want.
I actually know a woman who is much younger than me.
Yes.
And due to the tanning, the constant tanning year-round in the beds, in the sun, I felt so bad for her. We met a new person. There was a couple of us hanging out the other day, and a new person came by, and we were talking to this new person, and she had looked at this girl and said, "Wow, you look really good for 50."
Oh, ouch.
And I took 3 steps back because I thought the fit was going to hit the shan, as they say. And yeah, she does. She's only in her mid to late 30s, but her face looks like she's in her 50s due to the excessive tanning. It doesn't look like shoe leather, but just everything is just bleh.
Right.
The
body just couldn't keep up with that anymore. And I know a couple years ago there was a woman in our area that did die from it because it was just definitely overexposure, too much. And like I say, they look like they were in the oven just way too long. And so this is a question that I have for you.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Do you think men really like those deep, dark tans? Do you think that's really attractive?
I cannot speak for all men, but I can speak for myself. When it comes to skin color, from tanning, it does. Now, okay, a little bit of color looks good. Yeah, it looks good, but I like the natural color. I think it's hence the reason why I married a Sicilian woman. She's naturally darker skinned. No, I'm not even a beach goer. I just don't. I don't even like going to the beach. Maybe once in a while to just go for a walk, but no, that's not attractive to me at all.
One year I had been in the pool an awful lot and outside, and it actually upset me one day when I happened to be looking at my skin because it was actually turning that weird shade that I'm talking about. And I thought, I better control that from now on. And I wasn't trying to do it from tanning. I love to just be out there. But But let's go back to talking about the chemicals, though, and the SPF, because...
all the stuff in the sunblock.
Right, in the sunblock.
You put that stuff on your body to prevent the sun from getting in to doing that to your skin.
Right. Why would you want that garbage in your skin?
But in the same premise, what you're doing is you're putting all those chemicals on you that are soaking into your skin, and then you're going out to the sun and you're cooking them.
Yeah, with the skin being the largest organ, people need to understand the body still has to process those chemicals no matter what way they get into your system. We do know how easy morphine and nicotine patches work on the skin, and that is why the medical apply them directly to the skin, because it works. And so does the suntan lotion absorb right into your system as well. Once again, this is my feeling. People are being suckered into believing all of the advertisements. They almost shame you that you're not a good parent if you don't slather your children, your child in the products. Well, there are natural products like pure coconut oil that you can use even on babies. And Mederi does sell this product now, by the way.
Which I have a very large jar of at my house. Actually, it's about 3/4 of the way full. I've used about 25% of it so far.
Good. Well, on one of my other shows, we covered information on that coconut oil and how many people in other countries, like the Islanders, that were always in the sun, and they didn't get as much skin cancer. And many times that was possibly because they were poor and they couldn't use anything but coconut oil. This low rate could be, one of the several reasons why they didn't get skin cancer as much, but it also could be because their vitamin D wasn't being blocked from their bodies.
They were able to get the vitamin D.
Yep.
Plus, they didn't have all the luxuries that we have.
Right.
They were able to get off their butts and actually have to go and hang the clothes.
Right.
And scrub the floors on their hands and knees and do all those things because they didn't have a dishwasher or an electric steamer or anything like that. So they had to do it the way the old...
Wouldn't it be something if you had to make a choice? Or if you could make a choice? Would you like to go back to that? I think the Islander idea sounds pretty good. I know we don't. They don't.
No,
have
I'm just trying to imagine.
Could you? Yeah.
I think I would like to go back to like the 40s or the 50s for about a month.
Oh, for about a month.
Just for about a month, just so I can sit back and watch and learn as much as I possibly can.
Well, my entire show today could be on the subject of the coconut oil and all the SPFs, but we just can't be so gullible by believing the ads we see everywhere of the beautiful people we will be if we wear those SPFs or if we use them. And I say, please, don't take my word for everything that you hear me say today or any day. Investigate every topic yourself. It should get you aggravated to think we have trusted and believed these people with our health and our life, just like our food chain. It just can't be trusted anymore. But think back. When they advertise cigarettes, remember when they glamorize people smoking on TV and in all the ads? People then, they didn't know any better. And maybe we don't know any better now.
It's a definite possibility. I want to stop you right there.
Okay.
We got to take one more break here before we come back and wrap it up. I do want to reiterate one thing that you had said that I think is very, 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 very important. And it's that, me personally, I don't know everything. I mean, I'm a radio producer. I push buttons and I listen and talk for a living. That's all I do. Terry doesn't know everything. But what we're trying to do for you is to not tell you that there's a right way or a wrong way. We're not telling you that
Tom.
This way is better and that way sucks. And no. What we're trying to do is show different options, talking about that common sense that Terry has, which stuff she's talking about is not the same common sense that I have, and it might not be the same common sense you have. So what we're doing is trying to show you different options. Do the research yourself. I mean, heck, you don't have to go to the library and look up Encyclopedia Britannica anymore. You can do it right on your phone. And make the decisions for yourself. Just here are different options. And with that, I want to take one quick break. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk about the cigarette advertising again. I remember it from when I was a kid. You're listening to Make a Change on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be right back. Mederi Clinicals, a unique skincare company, has a complete skincare line for men and women. From anti-aging to glycolic and even a clinical line for sensitive skin, Mederi Clinicals is for you. Their number one product? Forgiveness. It's the secret to younger looking and younger acting skin. You can experience the transformation with fewer wrinkles, firmer skin, and a more youthful, radiant complexion. Treat aging, sun damage, rosacea, and more with Forgiveness. Plus, buy one bottle of Forgiveness, get one lip enhancing complex for free. Forgiveness. Apply it morning and night and keep forgiving and forgetting all through the day. Make a change with Mederi Clinicals. Balance, restore, look, and feel new. Mederi Clinicals, a complete skincare company for men and women. Call 866-646-3374 or check out MederiClinicals.com. MEDERI Clinicals.com. Welcome back to Make a Change on 94.3 FM The Talker. I am Tom Jenkins, along with your host, Terry Martin. We talk about making changes in your life. Terry talks about it. I kind of chime in and just agree with a lot of things, and I question a lot of things as well. And before the break, we were talking about, Terry was given the example of cigarette advertising. I mean, you remember back when they were allowed to advertise cigarettes on TV and on the radio, and I remember as a kid, I remember seeing billboards for them. They just stopped doing that for a while. Well, back then, they thought smoking was healthy. They thought smoking was cool. They did not realize how terrible smoking actually is. So what Terry has posed to you is maybe these sunblocks, maybe these tanning beds, maybe the diet, maybe they're not good for us today, and 30, 40, 50, 60 years down the road, there's going to be two knuckleheads on the radio talking about, hey, you remember when they used to advertise that sunblock stuff that's not allowed to anymore? You never know. So we need to do the research ourselves, talking about the smoking. They trusted what they saw on TV. They trusted what they heard on the radio. They trusted the government to let them know and tell them everything was okay.
So will we one day find out, like you said, that the SPFs, the processed food, and all the things that we talked about, like you said. But, when we talk about smoking, that does have something to do with our skin. Of course it does if we do smoke.
Absolutely.
And I realize not everyone smokes. However, I do want to hit on the subject a little because it hits close to home, like mine.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking is just a no-brainer. And just look at smoked meat. What's the difference?
Beef
Meat is
jerky.
meat. I'm sure you remember hearing people joke by saying, you have no meat on your bones. Well, our bodies do shrivel up from smoke as well.
I will be a living testimonial to that.
Yeah.
I smoked for I can't tell you how many years, and I smoked heavily. And when I stopped just probably about a year and a half ago, within that year and a half, I see changes physically on the skin since then.
My mother did too, and she smoked for 55 years, and now even her skin, not her skin, I'm sorry, her voice is even lighter now.
Yep.
Well, I questioned, is there anyone listening that hasn't seen a person in their older age that has smoked their entire life? And it's really hard to get them out of your mind because you can see the damage that it does and that it did. And I always wonder what they possibly look like before, when they were younger, before they smoked, and what they would look like now if they didn't smoke all those years. And there's no mistake. You can tell it isn't just normal aging. It's a distinct look we can recognize. And unfortunately, if looks were the only thing that accompanied smoking, okay. If that is what someone wants to do, then of course, to each his own. But the problem is it hits more than a person's looks. It hits their health and their loved ones. And now I want to tell you.
And their pocketbook.
About smoke and how smoking hit me. Well, my father smoked a couple of packs a day usually. Always no filters, just Camels, and then Pall Malls. And when he was really broke, he rolled them. I don't know if anyone remembers. Maybe they still do.
I used to. I used to roll my own. Yep.
Because he would never be left without his friends. The many friends that accompanied him every activity of his life, from happy times to sad times, they were always hanging around his lips.
Yep.
Well, on his birthday, January 10th, he had an appointment at the doctor's, and what a present he got. A death sentence. Lung cancer. He realized it was time now to let the old no-good friends go. And what an agonizing 8 months. He even ended up taking his old friends back after he tried to quit because he knew he should quit, but he couldn't function without them. He said they calmed him down. And yes, they calmed him down on August 1st. That was his last breath. Well, days before that, he was in his wheelchair and he said he wanted a cigarette. Well, he already had one in his mouth, but he didn't know it. So there he sat with 2 cigarettes now hanging off his lips. It was kind of funny. It wasn't, but, he didn't even know because along with the morphine, he had so much that he didn't even know on top of 2 cigarettes that they weren't even lit. This was a tall, proud, good-looking man at one time. And now he could no longer stand up. He couldn't stand up straight and tall at all. And one day he was just reaching up to turn a light off and he broke his ribs. I am not sure. I think he was about 66 pounds when he finally passed away. And all I can say is choose your friends wisely. They're not your friend. Now, if you smoke, you can see why I'm saying your friends would say these words to you if they could, till death do us part. And need I say more? If you are smoking, I really pray you stop, because that kind of suffering is really needless. Now, let's talk about something a little more fun, like sleep, because sleep does help your health, and how not getting enough can affect you more than just being grouchy. Try those dark circles. People would come to me and ask what to do about getting rid of them. Granted, some dark circles you can do much about. I'm sorry.
You can't do much
about.
Right.
But my question is, or can you? Because are those dark circles hereditary? And I would want to try for myself and just see if it is possible to defy the so-called odds, because I like to go back to that 80-20 DNA rule. Can you change anything? Because the example that I put down and was thinking is, what if you're from a family that maybe you're Italian? And I'm not saying anything's wrong with Italians.
You better not, because I married into the Italians.
No, but they're known for their delicious Italian spaghetti and lasagnas and ravioli and
cannolis.
Need I go on? And how about their delicious wines? I love Italian food. But now maybe if you continue to eat the cheeses and you're one of those people that are lactose intolerant, or maybe the sulfites from the wine or the sugars, they might react bad on you. And maybe you never knew it because your whole life, that's what you always ate.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe your body's working hard constantly to overcome it. So when you should be in a deep sleep, your body's working instead of healing. Now, maybe you have a little broken capillaries under your eyes. It might be worth a shot to just do a test and see if that 80-20 rule could possibly apply for you by changing, what you're eating. Just give it a try. And why is this important? Because maybe it is producing a lack of harmony in the body. And if so, what does lack of harmony produce?
Chaos.
Yeah.
Aging.
And maybe the body is working continuously too hard, to digest. And like I said earlier, when it is needing to sleep, it is working, digesting instead. So let's go back to those dark circles again. I have seen people that changed by changing their diets. And what they actually had was the little broken blood vessels in their eyes, under their eyes. It would dissipate right back into their body. And like my daughter, for one, when she was a little girl, I had no idea why she had dark circles. I mean, why should she? And she had a runny nose much of the time. And I have to add, she had a high-pitched scream. And for no reason at all, we'd be sitting there and she would just be letting out this loud scream. And I couldn't believe it came out of such a little body and a little mouth. But one day I finally figured out, after she ate a lollipop, that she couldn't handle sugar. And to this day, she says if she eats too much sugar at all, then she has to eat something salty to counteract it. She can tell. But, anyone, you just need to experiment with what you eat. And many times you can figure out your own skin problems. And now we can go back to lines and wrinkles. I laugh when I remember the lines by Rod Stewart. I'm sure you have all heard it. The morning sun, when it's in your face, really shows your age.
Maggie May.
Well, the reason I mention this is, yes, in the morning, many times I would sleep on my face and there would be a line. When I was younger, there was a line across my face, but, it would always just go right away. Well, now, no. The line can take all day and maybe even more than a day when it finally decides it wants to leave. So, what's the answer to that?
Don't sleep on your face.
It's so comfortable, though, to just roll over. But you need to learn to sleep on your back because it's also good not to lay on your heart. That's what they say anyway.
Right.
So my son got us pillows at the chiropractor's office, and they're kind of funny, but great for the lines in the face. And I say funny because when you put your head on the pillow, you feel like you're in a cow stanchion. You know those cow stanchions when they are milking them and you can't move?
They can't move, right.
Your head's like that. Well, you can't roll over because there's a hole in the center and your neck is resting on something like a ramp. So I laugh when I say to my husband and to myself, okay, it's time to get back on our stanchions. But it actually does get comfortable with time. And the main thing is you're no longer smashing and pushing your face in all different directions in the pillow. And that stops the lines ending up all over your face. Oh, and I do need to add the most important part. This pillow is great for your back.
Nice. So we now see how taking care of your skin could possibly save your life. And I did not know how you were possibly going to bring this around full circle because you confused me in the beginning of the show, but now I can definitely see many different ways to make the changes, but you need to see if
and that's
you need to make them first.
Yes, and that's why I wrote in my book what I have, because I've seen so many people, and I just want to say, I can help you. I can help you. You can help you.
And with that, if you would like Terry to help you, give her a call, 866-646-3374. 866-646-3374. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Terry, and if I'm completely wrong, just tell me to shut up. Not only will Terry be able to help you with the skincare, with your own skincare, with the wonderful products she has, but with also the wonderful knowledge she has, but she can help you make changes in other aspects of your life as well.
Yes.
With just being healthy overall. and she can guide you and give you different directions on where to go and what to do. And she can definitely help you. So give her a call at 866-646-3374. You want more information too, check out MederiClinicals.com, MEDERI Clinicals.com. And you can go to the webpage there also and click, I believe it's in the upper right-hand corner where it says Make a Change. You can listen to all these past radio shows as well as this one, provided she has it up there as you're listening to this right now. So hopefully.
It will be.
Thank you so much for the show again, Terry. And
thank you.
And thank you for listening. This is Make a Change with your host, Terry Martin. I am Tom Jenkins. Talk to you again next weekend, and have a great weekend on 94.3 FM, The Talker.